Hello everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. Now today's video, as you can tell, is about the princesses. As you can see, there's one here. And also if you like the Facebook page and if you're following me on there, you will have seen earlier on in the week I did post some pictures of certain princess locomotives. And if you saw those pictures you probably know exactly what today's going to be about. But it's essentially over these sorts of locos. If you've not seen them before, these are the Triang Princess locos. This one's Princess Victoria, this one's the 7P. But if you look, you can see these are the old Triang wheels. And while they were great in the day, when we try and run these on modern track, it doesn't seem to agree with them very well because of the size of the flanges. So every point and most of the track actually causes problems because of the size of the flanges, and you know, they're dragging on the sleepers and whatnot. But actually what happened with locos like these is slightly later on, you know, a few years later after these came out in the 50s and 60s, whatever, a few years later they started making newer versions of these locos, which did have slightly smaller flanges. Which means obviously they're far more suitable for modern track. Now these two here, this was Princess Victoria and that one's the Princess Royal. These two have both got the huge flanges, and you've probably seen them before out on my railway. You know, they run alright. I've not really complained too much about them, but it was less than ideal, as you've probably seen. So what I've been doing over the last couple of, well, only the last week really, is I've just been scanning out on eBay, trying to spot locos which have the later Hornby wheels, or slightly later Hornby wheels. And I've actually had success on a couple of occasions. I haven't yet got the Princess Royal loco, but I have got the Victoria, and I have also got the Elizabeth, both of which I'm going to run today for you. So we'll go over to the cabinet and I'll show you what I was able to do. Alright, so if we come over here then, you can see a couple of my boxes, and the one in question is this girl here. And I'll show you the box actually before we take her over to the well lit area to show it to you. And yeah, the idea with this was I was going to get rid of the body that came with it, and use the tender obviously, get rid of this body and put the old body onto it, because the old body was quite good, as you've just seen up there. But it turns out this one is so damn good. There's absolutely no need to change it, and you know, the body that comes with it fits better anyway, instead of having to put a big screw through the chimney so that it fits, whatever. This one is really good, so I'm actually going to unbox it here and now, and then we'll get the Victoria running and the Elizabeth running, which is over the other side. So yeah, let's get it unboxed then. But before we get on with that, let's have a quick look at the box. So as you can see from the end there, it's RO50, and it says there that it's a 462 locomotive. Of course it is. Princess Victoria, as we know. And just to take a moment really to appreciate the box, because you know, it's a pretty old box, as you can probably tell, but it's quite refreshing for me anyway to see a box in such good condition, and I suppose it might be not so common to get them as well kept like this. But it is absolutely fabulous when people look after things, or even just keep them in the box and put the box somewhere safe and dry, as is the case with this, I assume. As you can see, it's a Hornby Railways box, so it isn't as old as some of the boxes that I've got, which are super old, some of them. But yeah, it's pretty good condition. I'll just turn it round so that you can see everything. It says there, made in England by Rovex Models and Hobbies. I think that says upside down. And yeah, 00 scale models, blank on the back. And of course, not forgetting the sleeve, which is still in excellent condition, which shows a nice diagram of the loco. And it says again RO50, 462 class 8P, is that? Yeah, 8P. So the other one was a 7P, I noticed, I pointed out. But this one is the 8P. But as far as I can tell, there's very little difference. Probably just you know, a change in the names. And tender Princess Victoria. So I think we've seen the box enough. It is a very good box, but let's move on. So I'm going to get this open now, carefully of course. You don't want to ruin the box, and we'll get the loco out. I'll try and keep the sleeve in there. Oh no, it's coming anyway. Just push it back. There we are. And as you can see, it really is in fabulous condition. It's still got the shine to it. I've not done any more than just paintbrush over the body, and that's all I needed to do. It's in absolutely fantastic condition. Something that I noticed was the tender, which is still got its crest. which is quite rare. You often see them, you know, with scuff marks and slightly ruined and whatnot. And also the number on the side of the cab is often damaged, or, you know, because that's a place where people pick it up, so it's often worn at least. And also the Princess Victoria nameplate on the side of the loco is in fantastic condition on both sides. I really can't find a problem with this, and for £25 with the box is a real steal, especially with the modern wheels, which we've not even got onto yet. But I'll take it out so you can briefly see her before I put her up onto the white background and do a little review sort of thing. I don't tend to review these older ones, but I think this one warrants it because it's fantastic. Now, before I get on with that, I will just say you can see these are metal wheels here on the bogie. Well, I was quite pleased with myself on this front, because the loco that came in this box had a plastic bogie on the front, but amazingly the one with the big massive triangle wheels did have this metal bogie on it, which is probably not the correct bogie, but I'm not bothered. It's metal wheels, it's got small flanges on it, so I thought, well, we can scrap the plastic wheels entirely, except from the one on the truck at the back, and put all metal on, which I think makes it look a lot better. So I'm pleased with myself on that one, quietly smiling away to myself. We've got the tender as well, which also has the smaller flanged wheels, which is perfect. It's not going to be flying over the points. It has got the sort of through axles, which we're not too keen on. It makes things a little harder to change, and it makes things less compatible with modern wheels. But as I say, they've got small flanges anyway, so there's no real need to replace them. But I won't go into the tender either in much detail now. Let's get them up onto the white background and we'll look at them properly. Right, let's do it. So there she is up on the white background, and I will just say what a find this is. This is what it's all about. I'm definitely buzzing over this one. It's in really good condition, as hopefully you can see. I don't know if it ran when I first got it, because I took it apart instantly and gave her a good service, and I'm pleased to say that she runs just as well as she looks. She is a little bit slower than the older trying ones, but that's possibly because she might be running an XO3 motor in there instead of an XO4, and the only difference there is the gearing slightly different, which gives these locos a little more torque rather than a little more speed. Which is, I suppose, the best way to go, and it makes things a little more realistic and also a little more powerful too. So it's just a small tweak. But I'm going to review this one just in case I hadn't done it already. So let's get on with it. So this is an old model, and while this one is a slightly later version, I believe the bodies are pretty much the same as the originals. So we're talking over 50 years, towards 60 years, and considering that, I think the detail's pretty good. Around the cab certainly, we've got lots of rivets around the 8P there especially, and talking of the cab, you can see the running number there, 46205. Roof of the cab is not too bad. You have got the doors, obviously they don't open, and they didn't make any opening ones for quite some time. Yeah, it's nice to have bits of detail like that. Obviously it's mostly all moulded. With the handrails and stuff, it's all moulded, nothing's added on, but I think that helps. It's more of a recognisable loco for that. But yeah, this model is a very well known one, and it was very popular obviously back in the day. Having said that, there are a couple of separately fitted pieces. There you've got the safety valves, which are brass, which are pretty cool, and of course the Princess Victoria nameplate stands out a lot more. Not only because of the livery, but because there's nothing else separately fitted on there, which helps it to stand out. And also around the front of the boiler you've got quite a bit of riveting there, and of course the whole body is pretty shiny as well, which is how they were originally, I suppose, but a lot of them do lose that shine if they're left out of the box, or, you know, in the sun, or whatever happens to them. They can lose it, but this one hasn't, luckily. Going around the front, you've got a very plain buffer beam without very much on there at all, really. No rivets or anything like that. Not that it matters really, it's a very nice shade of red, and it's all, you know, it's still in good condition. I don't think the buffers are too bad though. I think the buffers are pretty realistic looking for their age, which is always pleasant. And you can see here the model looks a lot better also for the fact that it's got the modern wheels. As you can see, they are bespoked rather than just solid pieces with the spokes etched into it or whatever they were. It's much better like that. I think it's a whole lot more realistic, but having said that, everything else is exactly the same as the older trying version. Let's take a look at the cabs then. Obviously there's no windows, no glazed windows at least, in the cab. which is not a problem. It helped to keep the price down, I assume. But there is cab detail in there. It's very, very minimal, much more so than I think I've ever seen. Of course, it's not painted. But I think for the kids back in the day, that was quite a major thing to have actual detail in the cab, regardless of whether it's painted or not. And also the front of the tender is not too bad either. There's bits of detail there. There's no coal or anything like that spilling through like we saw on a couple of the other models we looked at. But there is a little bit of mould of detail there, which is not to be sniffed at. Let's take a quick look at the tender as well then. I've already mentioned the condition of it. It's pretty darn good. As you can see, the British Railways crest there is very simple. It is just gold. It's not got any huge amount of detail in it. But the fact that it's in such good condition makes up for that. Now I will also say the coal is pretty good. Don't you think that coal is nice? I mean, I'm even in two minds whether it's original or not, because it's just really quite finely detailed. And it's one of the best I've seen. I'll have to get the old trying tender out and see if that one's the same. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the coal. I think it's pretty realistic. And around the wheels as well, you know, the sort of undercarriage of the tender is really realistic. I think it's pretty good. You've got all the, you know, the traditional moulding there, nothing too special. But it seems to me that it's a whole lot more detailed just there in that spot than anything else on the loco. Which doesn't really imbalance things very much. It's, you know, you need all the detail you can get. But yeah, that's not too bad at all. And around the back of the tender, there's no ladders or anything like that, because they're small parts. You know, you've got all the issues of fitting them and moulding them and whatnot. But you have got a little bit of moulded detail there as well. Not too bad, plenty of riveting. And underneath there, of course, you've got another buffer beam with some very modest but very realistic buffers as well, which finishes the thing off pretty well. And yeah, it's generally a pretty good locomotive. Of course, in the days when these locos were made, they were intended more as toys, not so much collector's items. You know, nowadays realism is the key. But in those days, you know, these early engines, the play value was the important thing. And you don't want kids being disappointed when ladders are snapping off and handrails get damaged. So really, this loco was absolutely perfect for what they needed back in those days. And for me, I love it for exactly those reasons. I don't break it by accident. I don't have to worry. I can just not mess about with it. Obviously, I never mess about with it because it's, well, to me, it's pretty valuable. You know, the age of it and, you know, what it's been through. But it just means that you can have more fun with them, I think, without having to worry. I do have fun with my modern locos, of course, don't get me wrong, but there's always the worry that I'm going to damage something, you know, if I go too fast and something derails or something like that. You just know with these that almost nothing's going to break them, so it's brilliant, really. But I think I've talked enough about her anyway. I think you can probably tell I'm pretty enthusiastic about it. But I'll get her onto the line now. We'll do some coupling and I'll introduce you to the other princess, Princess Elizabeth, which I'm also very pleased about, which is in similarly good condition, perhaps not quite, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Right, let's do it. So there's the lovely Victoria on the tracks anyway, and I've got the 3 blood and custard coaches, which are waiting there, and she's going to go and couple up to those in a minute. I've also got Elizabeth on the line there, and I know I said that she's not in perfect condition, and anyway, yep, she's up to the teak coaches, as you'll see in a moment. But for now, let's get Victoria coupled up to the coaches, and I'll just cut the camera here and move into a more suitable place, so I'll do that now. Okay, we're ready there then. I know the loco's a bit out of focus, but she'll move in when we get her going. So I'm going to give her a go at a bit of a crawl. Of course, she will crawl pretty well now, she's got the smaller wheels. However, they will still struggle a little bit on the points, but not because of the flanges, but because there's only 4 pickups effectively. Obviously the centre wheels don't touch the tracks, so they don't help, and so you've effectively got the pickup capability of an 040, so, you know, if one of them goes over the points, little dead spot there, you could see a little cutout. But we're clear of the points where we are now, so hopefully that won't be an issue. So let's see how she does at slow speeds. I'll just reach over to the controls and we'll get her going. There we go. Not my smoothest ever. But yeah, now both the locos are ready, so we'll get Vic and Liz both going together, and I'll do it right now. Here we go. And for Liz as well. Oops. Little dead spot on the points there, but never mind, and again. Oh, I apologise for that awful squeaking that seems to have started. That's the teaks this time then. Everybody's having a little say. It's that brake, I think. Oh, it's ear splitting, isn't it? I'm sorry about that. Don't know if you can hear it as bad as I can. Oh, that's terrible. Ugh. I need to do those, obviously. Anyway, I've slowed her down so that we can do a little bit of a train ride, and I'll show you a little bit of behind the scenes stuff there. I've done this little bit for Cliff because I know we haven't done a train ride in quite a long time, so hopefully that will come out alright. I'll never know until I actually see it, and hopefully the princess won't stall or else she's going a little bit slower. But yeah, we'll see what happens there, see if she makes it under the footbridge. Hoping it will. It's only a little bit higher than the coaches, so it should be perfectly alright, yeah. Well everybody, that should about do it then for the two princesses. I hope you've enjoyed seeing them. They are lovely engines. They both run really, really well, as I'm hoping you can see. Princess is going really quite slowly, Princess Victoria that is, with the camera there, so hopefully she's doing a smooth job. But that should about do it, so I'll wrap it up there. But before I go, I will just say I've started a Twitter account, so if you'd like to go and follow me on there, if you'd like, I'll follow you back obviously. That's twitter.com/samstrains, or you can tweet me at samstrains. But for now then everybody, we'll leave you with the camera flying around there through the scenic part. I'll say thank you very much for watching as always. It's very much appreciated to have your support. Please comment if you'd like to, because it's nice to get a discussion going. But for now, I'll see you all very soon. Cheers everybody.